Local Urban Magazine, here with Beaver Dam Unified School District Superintendent, Mr. Steve Bessie, and board member, Joanne Tyjeski.
Yes.
We're here to explore the upcoming referendum and needs of the current high school facility. Let me start by, as a parent of 3 Beaver Dam alumni, you guys do a pretty good job. And from what I get and gather and hear from feedback in the community, it's pretty positive. Okay, so why do we need a new school, or why do we need to improve what we have?
Well, I will start, and then I'll pass it off to Joanne to talk a little bit about. We have had just a tremendous amount of success at our high school, and you can see in the awards that the high school has gotten, from being recognized by U.S. News and World Report to being an AP honor roll school, that from a college-bound perspective, we're really good. But the reality is that it's fairly inexpensive to educate college-bound children. And the area that you won't see a lot of accolades for the school district is in career and tech ed. And our career and tech ed facilities are vintage Vietnam era. And we are not where we need to be for today. And that is a major focal point of this referendum from an instructional standpoint, of what we would like to do in the school. But then there's just the reality that buildings need to be updated, remodeled, and taken care of in much the same way that you put a new roof on your house, you remodel your kitchen. You might have somebody that has different needs in your house, and you need to make it handicap accessible. Those are the kind of challenges we're looking at.
Yeah, I had 4 kids in the district. My youngest is a senior this year, and my first 3 are college-bound kids, and my last one is in Capstone Metals and Welding. And I had never been in that branch of the building other than just on a school tour. So it's been really different for me to get down there, see it, see the equipment. It's pretty outdated, and they're really working with equipment that nobody uses in the workplace.
Vietnam era, like late 60s, early 70s,
Right.
is what we're talking about. So when I was in high school, I graduated in 1971. This would be familiar to me then.
Yeah.
Because I took some tech ed classes then.
That's not the oldest part of the building. The oldest part of the building is like 1958, and if you want to see that in a somewhat preserved state, it's the band room and the orchestra room look like they did in 1958.
For the history of the high school, for whatever reason, the high school has had multiple additions onto it over the past 50-some years that it's been there. But the original 1958 footprint has gone relatively untouched. For whatever reason that is. I think one of the reasons is the high school is relatively land rich. So instead of going back into the high school and addressing the initial footprint of it, the district always built around the outside of it, which left the interior of the building full of asbestos, kind of trapped and built for a 1958 education. And our tech ed wing was put on in 1976 and is one of the poorest built sections of the building. If you look at it from the outside, it looks a little bit like a pole building. And the equipment in it is much that era. We've been very fortunate to have Apache stainless steel and John Deere donate a tremendous amount of equipment. But getting equipment isn't as big an issue as the fact that the facility is just not built for today's education needs and does not reflect manufacturing, construction trades, or automotives in 2016. Not even close.
The technical needs of these manufacturers, has, I'm sure, increased 100-fold in those last 40 years. The sophistication of what they're doing, and et cetera, all plays into what this.
One of the things that we've done a lot in our school tours is we've had pictures of what a new building would look like, or a remodeled building for every area. And when you get to the tech ed portion, there's a lot of computers in there, and it's pretty white, light colored. It's not at all what our tech ed section looks like.
Manufacturing used to have a reputation of being dark, dirty, and dangerous. And now it's highly lit, highly clean, technologically advanced. But if you walk into our tech ed area, it looks dark and dangerous. And it's hard to draw kids into the programs. And we just don't have the number of kids in our manufacturing programs and our other career and technical areas that other school districts do. And the facility is a major block for us.
And that directly impacts, Dodge County in these areas. For multiple reasons. The manufacturers themselves are looking for good, well-trained employees. True.
Right.
Families that come to Beaver Dam or are thinking about coming to Beaver Dam, that plays into whether they'll choose a located here or not?
Absolutely.
True.
And even, kids that might want to go into engineering in high school, if they know what they want to do, it's beneficial for them to learn about the building process and take metals. So it's not always the person in metals. I remember we talked to a student that was in a work placement, and he went back to school for engineering, but he was like going through the full process of learning how to weld, learning how to build things, and then going on to school for engineering. So this benefits just a wide variety of our students. They're just not all choosing to take advantage of the opportunities we're presenting. So we'll open this up.
We're trying to launch a small business within our manufacturing department called Beaver Manufacturing, and they would do small jobs for manufacturers in town, and they would learn every process of the business, from the proposal to the bidding to the drawing of the plan to the actual production of the piece and selling it. We'd incorporate our business department, math department, and obviously our manufacturers, and we're struggling from a facility standpoint. We just don't have the layout and the room to do it. A renovated high school, the plan that we're moving forward, would drop our technology education wing into a central part of our high school, and it would add a fabrication lab that would replicate what's being done in manufacturing facilities today, so that we can prepare kids in a 2016 environment for the jobs that exist in Dodge County right now.
Sweet. It was a partnership, if you will, with the
It absolutely is, and Beaver Manufacturing, we're being guided by both leaders at Apache, Mack, John Deere, and Kirsch Foundry through the Dodge County Manufacturing Alliance. They have been crucial, but our block right now is our facility.
Yeah, I see all those manufacturers, in my travels around the county, they're looking for, correct, good, bright employees right now, and are going to be, hopefully,
right.
In the future, along with John Deere's, expansion right now. I mean, that's got to be a 75-year, expansion on that facility. They see something coming.
Right. It very much is. When you look at the remodeling or the building of elementary schools are very much about neighborhoods. High schools are about communities, and the renovation of a high school is about advancement of the community. I sit on the Beaver Dam Economic Development Corporation board, and one of the questions that we often entertain when new businesses look to come to Beaver Dam is, what do your youth apprenticeships look like? What are your job preparation for your kids look like? What does your tech ed facility look like? How are they preparing kids? And we struggle in that area. We work hand in hand with Marine Park Technical College, but MPTC will tell you they're full during the day. Their job is not to take our welders from our high school and move them over to MPTC. Their job is to take them, once they move through our advanced courses, and then into the tech college across the way. So the career ready is a major part of what we would like to do at our high school, but it's only part of what we're looking to do.
I know one of the areas that when we talk about career ready that people don't always associate with that is foods, because there is so much food service in the area and so many jobs in food service, and it appeals to a really broad range group of kids that are interested in this. And one of the stops on our tour is the foods room. And when we get to the foods room, it's kind of funny because it looks exactly like when I was in high school.
We used to call it a home ec.
Right.
Yeah,
that's how it's
right.
built, Jim. That's a really good point. Our foods room is built to replicate home kitchens, because at the time when the when the room was built for home ec, that's what it was built for, to teach kids how to cook at home, largely to teach young girls how to cook at home. Jim, that's not where we're at as a society. It's not.
Things have moved a little bit.
No, it's family and consumer economics, and we train kids to work in industrial kitchens, and right now the best use for our foods room is to teach kids the violations that can exist in a commercial kitchen, because we cannot prep.
Think about that.
We cannot prep food in our kitchen like they would in a industrial food setting career position. And a renovated high school would allow us to connect our foods lab to our commercial kitchen and let those two groups work hand in hand. We struggle with plumbing, cabinetry, mold and mildew underneath our plumbing that's rotting. It's really a difficult place to navigate.
It's just getting tired.
It's tired. That's the best way to put it, Jim.
Yeah.
It's tired.
One of it's been abused. I mean,
Not at all.
a lot of maintenance over the years.
Not at all. And that's a question, Jim, I get a lot is, Steve, how has it gotten to this point? Well, at some point, buildings need full renovations. It's not a result of it not being taken care of. We spent we allocated $1 million to renovate our science lab, which would be protected in a renovation. We're constantly updating the roof. The roof is in good shape. Matter of fact, our roofing contractor was standing on top of our roof and said, "I can't believe that they would contemplate tearing down this building." It's one of the reasons we're advocating for a renovation and not a new building. But there are parts of that building that are in good shape and parts that we have taken very good care of. The need is just larger right now than what we can do. And school district's only option is to go to referendum to raise that kind of capital.
Sure. You know, from his perspective, it's kind of like, let's saying it all depends on what chair you're sitting in.
Sure.
Right.
And here's what you see today and what's important.
Yeah.
The other reality in 1958, when the building was built, a major building material was asbestos. And they didn't know what they know today
that
about
heavy?
asbestos. It was, and it's a good
It's
building
versatile.
material. It's a good building material, but when it cracks and when it becomes to a point where it needs to be replaced, not only is it a health hazard, it's very, very expensive. And our hallways are mainly asbestos. Our boiler is still in place from the 1950s of solid asbestos, and the asbestos just needs to be removed from the
Some of those old boilers are still in place. They were abandoned, but were now removed from the facility. Is that?
That's right.
Did I
And
understand that?
they're almost solid asbestos. That's correct.
And at the time, we didn't know any better. It's like everybody was smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right.
We learned things as time goes
We're
on,
evolving.
and then we want to
That's
adapt to those newfound.
Right. And when you go into the what is called the pit, which is the boys' changing room underground, which is a good name for it, Jim, it's all asbestos. Everything in there is asbestos, and it's just rotting.
Flooring is everything's wrapped.
Right. You don't put changing rooms underground. You don't put mechanical systems underground anymore. But in 1958, that's how we did things, and now they need to become above ground structures.
You try and get it out of there.
Yeah, exactly. But when you mention the pit and the changing room, the other reality of our high school is that our male changing rooms are larger than our female changing rooms for our athletes and for our students in gym class. Jim, that's just not acceptable anymore.
In all categories?
In all categories. It's just the facilities are larger and more appropriate for males than they are females. We need to correct that now.
Competitive reasons? What's today's environment, with competing communities, school choice, does that play into any of this? Or is that something we don't really need to get into?
I think when you look at our scores and how we're doing academically, we're just one of the best in the area.
Yeah.
And as long as people come to the area and they look at that, they know that this is a place that they would want to send their kids. But when they come into a facility tour, then it becomes a little harder sell that this is the place they want to send their kids. And that's where we just really come to the decision. Not the main reason, but it's another reason why we decided we needed to just take a look at the building. I've been on the board for, a long time, a while now. And
thanks for your service.
yeah, you're welcome. It's just been really rewarding. When we started ever talking about, projects within the district, when I first came on the board, it was always talking about summer projects. And they had the summer projects, which is fix these sections of this roof, replace this carpet, tweak this boiler. And we're able to keep our buildings going, for the most part, doing a lot of that. But all of a sudden, as you just maintain, you'll hit this wall where the maintenance becomes a bigger project than you can do. And that's what you talked about a little while ago, where we did the science rooms. Well, we did a number of things. We, in our studies, decided that we just had a lot of questions that we needed answers to. And the way to get answers wasn't something we could answer ourselves. So we started with, wasn't the first one a demographic study?
Yeah, we started.
The first one we did.
Yes, we started with a space study and said, do our schools build to accommodate the kids that we have? And the answer for that is we're close. We're close to capacity at all of our schools. In our high school, we're in a difficult situation. The high school was built for 800 students and now has 1,100 in it, and it just doesn't accommodate the need anymore.
Your point earlier, where the gentleman sitting on the roof says, I don't believe they want to tear this down, but that's not the case. We're not suggesting with this that we're tearing it down. We're
right, and that's
refurbing it.
What we said, and Joanne can speak to this too. What the board really said is we're going to do a set of community connection sessions with our community. Last winter, we're going to do tours of the school. We're going to be on the radio with an open call-in show. We'll be at Edith's for coffee. We want to hear from the community as to what needs to be done. And what we heard from the community matched what our architect and engineers and construction manager had said, is that the building, a new high school for 1,100 kids, is about $110 million. A full renovation of our school is about $45 to $48 million. So you can't throw away $60 million of equity or $60 million of value in the building. And that's what we heard from people when we did tours too, is we want a long-term fix, but we want a fix that's fiscally responsible as well.
There's some other things about our high school that aren't about the building, it's pretty amazing that we're next to a tech college. It's pretty awesome that we're next to an elementary school. There are kids that go back and forth volunteering in the elementary school, working with kids. We're still in town. We haven't sprawled beyond the community. There are a number of kids that walk to our high school. And if we were to say we're going to start over, we would not be able to start over in this location.
Sure.
Because you can't just say, you know what, we're going to build a new school, so we're not going to have school this year while we knock this down and start over. So to maintain the location, remodeling is really the option too. And it's been exciting to just talk about that.
So better for the community.
Yeah, I think
Even more
so.
central. I think so.
Yeah.
We're also, our high school's land rich, which gives us the ability to do a lot of things. Our high school complexes are very, very good. Now, depending what athletic sport or what athletic event you love the most, you're critical of that area.
Back to that chair over you're saying.
Right. It depends on what lens you're looking through. But our athletic facilities are good, and it wouldn't take a lot to make them great. And for us to abandon our high school football stadium with a track would not be a good choice.
Doesn't make sense.
Our baseball field, although not perfect, is quite beautiful. And to abandon that and move somewhere else just is not a good financial decision. Then we have our architect and our general contractor telling the school district, you don't need to build a new high school. You can renovate in that area $45 to $48 million and have a 25 to 30-year solution to your facility.
And one of the things that we need to address when we look at the high school is the safety and security of the high school facility. And really all of our elementary schools, we've been looking at that while we talk about this project. So if you are used to our high school, coming into our high school during the day, you need to buzz in the front doors. That system of buzzing in the front doors, and I'll let you explain the details of it, isn't as secure as it should be. Not to mention the fact that if you come into our high school to see a play or a concert in the auditorium or in the gym, you're not coming in the front doors of our building anymore. Now you're coming in the back door by the auditorium. And so the plan is to kind of correct that and have a front entrance that's safe and secure for our students during the day and our community at night.
Our elementary schools and our high school do not fit 2016 safety standards for schools. That's just the reality of where we're at. Schools could be built in the 50s and the 60s to be wide open for community members to come in. That's not where society is at. And what we'd like to do is make some proactive decisions to make our schools more secure, our high school and our elementary schools, before we have an issue. And to do everything we can proactively. In this community, I've lived in it for 40 years, has taken proactive steps to protect its citizens, to be on the cutting edge of its facilities, and we need to make some changes from a safety perspective to all of our schools. And the referendum that's put forth would put in place secure entrances to all of our schools, all the elementaries, the middle school, our alternative school, and our high school. And then I would argue that just about everything we're doing at our high school has a security slant. From the ability to lock the school down quickly, to partition it off into sections, to have open access for the community to a section of the high school, but not the entire school. We had, Jim, a really unfortunate event this past winter where we had upwards of 1,500 people in our school between a basketball game, a tournament basketball game, and a musical. And
I remember a little bit about this, but please
we had everybody in. And the basketball game got out, and people were leaving the game, and they're going past the auditorium, and we had upwards of 15 adults to guide these people, to keep them from getting into the rest of the school, but we can't lock the school off. Some kids got in the back of the school, pulled a fire alarm, which created significant chaos, interrupted the musical, had to empty everybody into the parking lot. It was snowing and icy. A lot of people, that was a problem navigating that ice and snow outside. It's just an example of we can't lock our school off, and that, Jim, just is not acceptable in today's environment. It's not acceptable. If you go to Washington School, you buzz to come in, you ring the doorbell, you look up at a camera, we buzz you in, you walk down a hallway, you go past 2 classrooms, 2 bathrooms, and hopefully you turn left and go into the office. And we just
if you're paying attention, you get there.
We just can't have that. I mean, we've seen what happens in different communities, different places, incredible tragedy. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen here. God forbid that would ever be something our community would have to deal with. But we have to prepare not just for that, but for the visitor who shows up under the influence or the custody issue. We need to have a secure entrance sequence in all of our schools where parents buzz in, then they enter a secure office where they're background checked, vetted, and then they have an escort that helps them pass through another set of locked doors and into the school. We all wish schools didn't have to be built like that,
You see,
Jim.
and so many
they
of
do.
us were in
They do.
school 45 years
Right.
ago, you know? We have no sense of that. You know, we're not in here every day, you know? We need to pay attention. We don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Right.
understand just how difficult that can be.
But you really don't go to any big business now or any building that doesn't have those security measures in some form or other. And our schools should not be the least of them.
Sure.
It should be
Last
the best.
year,
We've been talking about things in the building for years. And was it 2 years ago that we did the middle school? Which
Right.
really came out of the same study that brought the high school.
Mhm.
And we started a facility study and we said, and they brought up, level 1, 2, and 3 things. We did everything we could on that list until we got to the high school.
See, from my standpoint, personally, what you did with middle school was wonderful.
Oh,
I like seeing the building.
yep.
Built in 1922.
Built when they built things to last.
Exactly.
You know, it's just a
There-
gorgeous
and
piece
I
of
like
history.
brick and
Right.
mortar and stone and
Yeah.
all that, that good construction stuff,
There's a substantial.
It's important that we
Right.
preserve those
It's also
things.
it's in the middle of town. And an abandoned school, an abandoned building in the middle of Beaver Dam is not what we need.
Who's that for anybody?
It's not. In the middle school's a fortress. I mean, that is our fortress.
Mhm.
And the way that was built in 1922 was not the way the high school was built in 1958. They are substantially different. Terrazzo floors in the middle school that will last
Another 100
forever.
years.
Yep.
That's not the case. That's just not the way it was built. Joanne's right. This has been a long process. This has
Yeah.
really been since 2011, where we have gone through a very methodical approach to analyzing our facilities and trying to make proactive decisions to get ahead of them. We've done $10 million of facility work since 2011 without a referendum. I challenge the viewers to find another school district our size who have done $10 million of work prior to going to referendum. Too many times in school districts, the decision is to jump quickly to referendum, and then if the voters say no, then we'll regroup and see what else we could do. The school board was very clear that referendum will be a last resort and only if the community says that's the direction we need to go. We did $10 million worth of work without a referendum, proactively on our buildings. We closed a rural school to become financially more efficient, and we're to the point where we have no other option. And to provide the education opportunities that our kids need in Beaver Dam, to provide the safe environment that they need, and to be competitive within Dodge County, this is a direction that our voters need to become informed about and spend some time thinking about what will our school district look like if we were to be successful, and what would it look like if we were not to be successful, and where are we going to be in competing for students?
And again, back to the community needs and those things, in my mind are significant, and I see, again, on the 20, 30, 40, 50-year plan, that cohesive energy that helps build the community into a strong environment. Okay, Beaver Dam is unique in its size. It's a pretty benevolent community. It does a lot of really good things. It really does. And when it's time to step it up, they seem to find a way. And this appears to be one of those magic moments, if you will.
Absolutely.
It's time.
It is a really having been here my whole life, and I often joke that I bleed green and gold.
It's not all bad.
It's a community decision. As I said earlier, elementary schools are about neighborhoods, high schools are about communities. Our high school is the most publicly used building, I would argue, in Dodge County, certainly in Beaver Dam community. Our high school was used 360 days last year out of 365 by community groups. And the changes that we're looking to make will only increase public access to our school.
That's all good.
Oh, yeah.
It's exciting.
It's all good.
Exciting.
I like to come to the theater, the plays, and to the musical, productions and the sports events.
Right. And you'd like to not have a fire alarm interrupt the middle of the play.
Exactly. And come to the debates. Those things are, all the stuff that.
You go to any of our
And into
productions.
the art room. Can I interrupt just for a second?
Yeah.
Is there's the wall in the art room? Is that still
The wall, Jim, you bring up a classic. Last winter we had a wall falling down. It was falling forward, 30,000-pound wall, put in place, not anchored to anything. We had to shut down the room, bring structural engineers who said the room isn't safe to be in. We had to then secure that wall, and we're able to have kids in it. It doesn't look very good. Again, it's
but
kind
it's
of
not
like
going to fall.
it's kind of like
any-
It's kind of like the 1980s movie Money Pit.
Mhm.
It's like you just keep trying to fix a problem only to get another problem.
Sure.
We've got a wonderful picture of where our lockers are. The building is tilting off, and the lockers are moving further back on the cement blocks they're sitting on, and soon they're going to fall through. And the wall is kind of the same way. It's falling down. When we say the building's falling down, Jim, it's literally falling down. So when someone says, well, why didn't you take care of the building? We did. But there are structural deficiencies in the building. They just need to be eliminated.
You just keep chasing them until you get in there and just
Right. You know, it's
do some excavating and put on the foundation.
right. And as long as you're doing a major renovation, you have the opportunity to do things like take your technology education wing, make it a central part of your high school, and connect it to your math and science wings, because those subjects should integrate. You have the ability to take your core classrooms and give them all natural light, because kids, they love their electives, but they spend 80% of their high school day in their core classrooms. And we're able to put those along the outside walls of the high school and provide those kids natural light all day long. It just is
Crazy important.
great opportunities. Wi-Fi is a real problem in our high school because it doesn't want to move through the cement brick and the metal lockers.
Way to blast it
No,
through.
give us the ability to build hallways and classrooms, hallways that are straight shots all the way through for safe observation of kids, the ability to lock the building down quickly, the ability to move Wi-Fi through it more efficiently. It's just, we need to move into 2016 at our high school, and we're excited to see where our community stands on the question.
And if anybody has questions about, can you take an old building and really make it the same as a new, have the same high functioning, high levels, be able to offer the same opportunities, they really need to see our science rooms. Because when we came up with the doing the science rooms over, we had a lot of input from the staff that live in those rooms and how they would want to see them function. I think everybody has a picture, and I graduated from Beaver Dam, and I have the picture in my head of all of the bays around the edge of the room, all the lab stations. And so you sat in the middle of the room and you got your lecture, and then you got up and you walked over to your lab and you talked to all your friends.
Get your beakers and let's
go.
go.
Get your beakers.
Right.
Hook up that Bunsen burner.
Right.
And if you look at our new science rooms, they are nothing like that. It is a flexible learning space where they're sitting at their lab station for lecture, and then they're right there. They're in their groups. They're discussing they're collaborating, whether it's a lab day or just here's 10 minutes to discuss what we just talked about. And I would even say the architect was pretty impressed with our design that the teachers and the architects came up with. So if you have any questions about what you think might not be possible, you need to see those because they turned out just beautiful.
Right. I had that exact conversation, and I had two individuals that say, Steve, you can't remodel a 1958 building and make it a modern learning space. That's why we need to bulldoze it and start over. And I said, just give me a half hour of your time, and let's walk in the high school. And we walked through the science wing. They were amazed. They were absolutely shocked at what you can do at a much lower price than building new. And really, I think we're on board. So if you have that question, get a hold of us. We'll take you through the high school. We've got tour dates coming up, and you can see what you can do. And I've had, I'll tell you, the opposition I did not suspect, because somebody said to me, Steve, you better put on the armor. If this is the direction the school board's going to head, you better put on the armor. And the pushback that we've gotten, which I did not expect, Joanne, maybe you did. And I've been cornered at a tennis match. I've been cornered in rechecks. I've been cornered in Piggly Wiggly. I've been stopped at the gas station. Why are we not building new? Why are we not bulldozing the building and starting over? Jim, that is not the pushback that I thought we were going to get, and that's some of what we're getting. And the answer to that question is that the architects, the engineers, the contractors have indicated that you have too much quality structure in that building, that you can create a 25 to 30 year answer for a fraction of what it would take to build a new school. And then we believe the right direction is to move to a complete renovation at $48.9 million opposed to $110. A $48.9 million referendum is $1.68 increase to the mill rate, which is $168 per $100,000 of value. A new school, we're looking at $3.75 to $4. I don't think that's fiscally responsible. I can't look my neighbor in the eye and advocate
for the buck,
that.
if you will.
Right.
And we really feel like if we didn't feel like we could have a learning community that was as good as a new facility, we wouldn't be talking about this. We're not going to make huge sacrifices to the potential of what we could have because we're staying where we are. We really believe this is the right thing to do. And as school board members, there's two things we do. The first thing is we take care of the kids and we take care of the needs of the kids. And the second thing is we represent the taxpayers. So you always have to balance those two things. You can't look at one You know, if you're car shopping, yeah, you'd like to have a Cadillac. It'd be nice to just walk on the lot and I'll look at the price tag and pick up the car, but that's not reality.
Doesn't always happen.
You
No,
know?
it's we're building a Chevy. It's going to be a renovated new Chevy, but
Yeah, but
it's
they
not a
run
Cadillac.
well.
It will run well and it will run a
Reliable.
long
And
time.
we can fix it locally.
Reliable.
Mhm.
I had to say, it was so funny when you talk about reliable. We started this tour process, and it was like the tours evolved because every time we were going to go on a tour, they'd be like, you know what happened in the high school? There was a wall in the art room that was falling down. This thing happened here. Go look at that sub pump. That thing runs 24/7. You know, it was like one thing after another. It felt like every time we went in the high school, they're pointing to one more thing that's been a problem.
I was at a service club meeting, and I was talking about how we have the highest achievement. Our high school is the highest achievement in the area. Our kids' average ACT score outcompete Sun Prairie, Conomowoc, West Bend, Fond
True
du Lac,
story.
and true story in every other small district around. And we have the lowest tax rate. Now, I would argue that our high school reflects the
Well,
lowest
but
tax
that's what
rate.
these guys will say. Well, fine.
Well, that's what the gentleman said. He said, Steve,
Joe.
I've known you my whole life. If we have the best academic achievement
Forget about
for the
it.
lowest cost, why would we screw a good thing up? And I said, you know, one, we don't have the highest achievement and the highest output in our career and technical areas, and that's the area where the jobs are in Dodge County. The other question
Or
I
needed.
had, and I've known the gentleman my whole life, and I said, you know, I know your kids are wonderful people, and even though they're wonderful people coming out of your house, you've remodeled your kitchen, you've added a room on, you've put a new roof on. That's what we're doing. You know, we are trying to take care of the infrastructure and the building for the long term.
Smart investment.
I think
You know,
so.
in my experience in doing term papers, back to my school days, you know,
Sure.
and some of the recommendations, you know, that would give us is to spend a little bit of time and research your subject, okay? Become familiar with your subject. You guys have done that.
Oh, yes.
You guys have
It's been-
you guys,
it's been
it's
endless.
impressive.
Yeah.
Listening, you know, spending time with you, you know, you know your topic. You know what you're talking about. I applaud that. Seriously.
So it was really back to, you know, we had a whole district facility study in 2011, and as Joanne said, we did about $10 million of work out of that. But then we did an in-depth study of just the high school, and then we connected with our community, and then we connected again with our contractors to come up with, okay, and then we surveyed the community. We took all that information and said, based on what we're hearing, here's a solution that we propose, and we have really strong support, or our survey shows really strong community support, and I think it reflects exactly that. We spent a long time talking to people, researching, and trying to come up with the best answer.
Excellent. Closing.
Oh
Ladies
my
first.
gosh, ladies first. Well, I'm really looking forward to this opportunity to explain the needs to the community and invite them into our school to see if they're at all able to come. If those tour times don't work, I know for a group we can arrange another tour because we really feel like it's important that you could see it. I viewed it as this is a history walk here. I managed to make it all the way through high school in Beaver Dam and never got into that boys' locker room, which was probably a really good thing. So to see every nook and cranny of that high school and to understand the boilers and to understand the situation that we're in, I think really makes the decision a little easier. And anything you can do to just get some more information, we'd be happy to help you.
Two things. Become informed. That's all I can ask. Become informed. And that information, the best place to go is our website, BDUSD.org. Hit referendum. Everything's there. 3 years worth of newspaper articles, all the architectural studies we've had. Become informed. And then once you're informed, vote on November 8th. And if you're informed, I can support any position you have, but please become informed and then make sure you vote.
Excellent. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Jim. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.